Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 650. I had the white pieces and start off with e4. My opponent went with e6, the French defense. So we get the normal moves for a while, d4, d5, knight c3, the top choice. There are several ways to play it as white. And then knight f6, going for the classical variation rather than the other lines, the Winauer or the Rubinstein. And now I go with the bishop g5. I was playing e5 for a while here, the Steinitz variation, but I've switched back to bishop g5, and I think it's been working for me pretty well. I was having trouble before, but now I seem to get okay positions out of it. So actually, the top choice here, somewhat surprisingly, is d takes e4. I most often see this move, bishop to e7, in practice. That's what everybody seems to play. And it seems to be one of the better moves here, too. If you look at the chess engine, it actually recommends that move as the best choice. There's also bishop b4, a very tactical line. Anyway, he played bishop e7, and white's play after this is quite simple. And so it's I can remember this line pretty well, I guess, whereas I have trouble with the other lines sometimes. But you just push the pawn forward, kick this knight away, and trade off the dark squared bishop. And the idea is that is the good bishop in this pawn structure. And then you need to protect the center to keep the light squared bishop closed in, so you play f4. So if you can remember that much, you get to a decent position as white, although black is fine too. But right here, black makes a mistake. He plays c5. He should castle or play a6. So after c5, if you want to exercise your tactics, why don't you see what a good move for white is here? Okay, pause the video. If you want some time to think about it, I'm going to give the answer away. It's something to always be wary of when you play c5 in the French. If there's always this knight here, if it hasn't been traded off like in the Winauer, the knight is free to jump to the b5 square. And it's kind of a double threat. It can come into either c7 or to d6 with a check. And both those moves are somewhat annoying. And so, for example, if you wanted to protect the c7 square, you could play a move like that, knight b6, trying to get out of the way. But then knight to b6, trying to get out of the way of the queen, so knight c7 is not possible. But then this knight can hop into d6 with check. And after the king moves, you can grab this pawn. And in this particular case, you're going to win a piece because this knight has to move and then the bishop is loose. So black falls apart in a hurry in a lot of these lines. The chess engine actually recommends just castling here, allowing the knight to come into c7, and then basically giving up the exchange for a pawn. You can grab the d pawn. White probably gets it back, but it thinks that white is better after that, but black can play on. Anyway, that would be good for white, that knight b5 move. I didn't spot that idea. I usually end up in the Winauer here, so I'm used to not having this knight. Having that knight there is a great luxury. I should take advantage of it. Okay, knight to f3, defending the center. He took, I took, and then finally he plays a6. So, that was the idea, by the way, in this position. Instead of playing c5, either play a6 to control that b5 square, or you castle to get away from the check, and then you're okay. Anyway, let's go back to the game. c5 was played. I went knight f3. He goes takes, and now a6. And it's my turn. And I went bishop to d3. And then I said, maybe that wasn't the best move here, because he does have queen b4 here, and this wins a pawn. It's not, I could try playing this as a gambit, but it's not clear if that would be such a great gambit. Let's see. This knight is under attack. This knight is under attack, and when it moves, this pawn is under attack as well as that pawn. So knight to e2 defends that pawn and defends that knight. So at least when the queen takes the pawn, I can do something like rook b1 to chase the queen away, and my knight is defended. Queen to a3, though, and seems like black is escaping with his extra pawn, so probably good for black. Let's see. So instead of bishop d3, the chess engine had recommended this move here, queen g4, trying to gain a tempo. And then white is prepared to castle queenside, which is a nice move that actually protects the knight on d4 and also protects the pawn on b2 with the king. So queen b4 can't be played immediately anyway because the threat of queen to g2 has to be dealt with. So the line goes like this and like this. So I guess to answer a question I asked during the game, castling queenside is an idea in these structures. And even when I played it, at the point where I played it, it was recommended as a good move. So he missed this queen b4 idea and he just castled here. I went to queen e2. I went f6. I think this helps me out a little bit. When you take this pawn off, oh, let's see, I went queen e2. Sorry, we got off track here. I went queen e2. He went f6. When I take this pawn, it leaves him with a weak d pawn. So it seems in this case this may have helped me a little bit. Although, of course, black has to come up with some idea of liberating this bishop. But as long as I can keep that pawn restrained with my f-pawn and keep some pressure on it, I think this is going to be a good position for white. I mean, it's not a huge mistake. It's just a slight edge for white. Anyway, I went and castled queenside here because it looked like whenever I castled kingside, there was going to be problems on this open diagonal and the loose knight on d4. So I think castling kingside in most of those positions was a mistake. But yeah, I looked it up with the chess engine and it approves of this castling queenside move. So it's okay here. He continues his development, knight c6. I drop my knight back to f3. You know, I'm trying to keep an eye on these dark squares here. He goes bishop to d7. And I go h3, which is an actual mistake. So you want to see if you can spot the tactic here for black. Black's turn to move. What's a good move here? Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. Pause the video if you want time to think about it. The move is knight to h5. And once again, it's a kind of a double attack. It's hitting this pawn twice. The rook and the knight are ganging up on it, so it's hard for me to defend it. And the knight is also threatening to come into g3 with the fork of the queen and the rook. So, you know, I can hold on to things. I guess queen here would defend the g3 square, but he can just grab this pawn. And when he grabs this pawn, actually the total picture really changes. You know, this is a key pawn in my position. Once that's gone, his center is free to move forward. So it's more than just winning a pawn. It really liberates black's position, and black is much better after that. So h3 is a horrible move. I needed to play something like g3 here to defend my f-pawn. I need to recognize that's a key resource in this position, hold on to it, and also I needed to recognize that it was under threat from this knight h5 move. So that's what I should have played. He didn't take advantage of it. He went rook a to c8, just a normal developing move. I go g4. Still not a great move because this pawn is weak. And now he pushes on with d4. This is good. Kicks my knight away. And then he goes queen to b4 here. If you were to go knight d5 with the same idea of just ganging up on my f-pawn, I have no good way to defend it, and I can't, well, if I push it forward, I also lose it. So this kind of destroys my position. This knight d5 move is really a great idea for black here. Anyway, he played the more normal queen b4, just going for the attack on the king. And I kick his queen back. Queen drops back to b6. And this is all about even. I mean, it's a dangerous looking attack, but white can defend. So this is all okay. Let's see. I spotted this idea of knight d6. And I just played it right away. Let me see. Let me back up. There, I was saying this is all okay, but after queen b6, it seems like white has some edge. So maybe there was a better way for the queen to retreat. Probably back to... probably queen back to e7 is a better retreat, holding on to his material here, his center, holding on to his center, and maybe still having the idea of knight to knight to d5. So queen b6 gives me this move, gives me some moves with tempo. So anyway, knight b6 comes in with tempo, hitting this rook, and then the knight can drop back here, hitting the queen with tempo. And so as I was going for that reorganization of my pieces, But the chess engine wants to do this in a slightly different order. It likes the move knight f to g5 here. Taking a look at this pawn, and then after this, knight hops into d5, hitting here, then knight to d6. So let's see. I guess this is complicated here. He can take this pawn. I could take his hitting my queen. I have to think of an answer to that. And he's got, of course, I'm threatening to take his rook. Maybe if he takes here, I take the rook. He takes my queen. No, it goes with check. Yeah, I don't know. It gets complicated, but that's the way the chess engine wanted me to play it. So knight d6 is an okay move, but maybe not technically the best. Let's see, moved his rook to c7. I reroute my knight to c4, kicking the queen again. Queen goes over to c5. And then once again, the engine wants you to play knight g5. This is, well, the idea here is clear. The queen and the knight are ganging up on that pawn. But anyway, I played b5 here. Let's see. No, it's my turn. I played knight f to e5. And in this position, he could play the move knight to g5. Oh yeah, that's my move, knight to g5. He played the move b5 here. He had a good move here. Well, not good, but he can get out of trouble here by taking my knight. And let's see. I guess I take back with the knight. He goes bishop to c6, and this seems to be okay. It's like holding on to everything with the rook, holding that pawn. So that would be defending. Let's see. He tried b5, kicking my knight, and already I could do something similar to what I played in the game, but well, I just retreated the knight first. This gives him one more chance to take off my knight. Knight takes. I would probably take with a pawn here to avoid the queen trade. Knight to d5. Knight to b3, kicking his queen. Queen back to e7. And this is, once again, holding for black. That would be okay. But this next move, then, is the final blunder. And it's the move that was good in so many other situations. But right here, it's just no good. Because of the tactic I played in the game. The problem is I can remove this bishop with tempo. I can bring my queen in here with check, because there's no piece that can take back the bishop and defend the pawn. And then he's got to deal with the consequences of the check here, and his rook is loose, and there's just no good way to defend against all that. Let's see. So I played here. He took, and I went here with the check, and then he blocked with this rook, and that's losing. But the other moves are losing too. If he moves the king, his rook is loose. So the only other way to kind of hold on is to block with this rook. And then there's this nice move, knight to e4, gaining a tempo on the queen, and also trying to chase the queen away from defense of these knights. The loose knights were a theme at this point in the game. So if the queen drops back here to protect the knight, then this queen comes in with check, and when this rook drops back, the other rook is loose, so you win the rook. So the chess engine here actually wants to play queen back to e7 and just give up the knight. And either way, he's just winning big material. So the move he chose, rook d to f7, is not any better. And I played my knight to b3, which is one way of winning material. There were others, and now the queen has no square it can go to defend both knights. And so he resigned. And well, looking at it with the chess engine, it gives me a much bigger advantage than just the 3 points for the piece. So it must be some good attacking prospects here, as well as being up in material. Anyway, it was an interesting game. Hope you guys liked this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.